So the world, nature, the way that the sun and the moon and the earth and everything lays itself out is a direct reflection of the nature of consciousness. So you're a direct reflection of nature. So the way that you see everything working is how your consciousness works, like the relationship between air and water and sun and moon. And I'll get into that in a second. It's a direct reflection of you, but it's also a direct reflection of God or of the Creator. And so if you learn to read this language, which is just see reality, then you have this book, or you have this infinite understanding. You have creation as a gospel. And once you learn how to read it, and anytime you have a question, you can just look to nature to see the truth about that reality. Like, so if you understand how everything fractally plugs together, and you come and you encounter something weird, like what's the nature of aliens? What's the nature of fairies, giants, time? What's the nature of time? Like, what's the nature of the government? What's the nature of all these conspiracies? Like, nothing is hidden. Like, everything is working exactly as it's working, as you see it in yourself and in nature. And so you're never gonna have questions that aren't being reflected currently. The only reason that something comes to your mind, the only reason that you even think to ask something, is because you're already looking at it. And so if you have a question, you know you're already looking at the answer. You just have to recognize it. And that's why, like, before, if somebody's, I don't know, whatever, I used to be into like non-duality or enlightenment, or just particular types of waking up, and it's like only some people are interested in that because it's only present in that, and the other people, it's not, they're not interested in it. That's why it's like similar to the teacher appears when the student's ready, or whatever. Like, the question, the thought, like it can't possibly arise unless it's there that way. And so that's how people can kind of inhabit different realities. And it's not that there's like multiple truths. It's just like, the world as understood by a 3-year-old is different than the world understood by a 7-year-old, is different than the world as understood by a 70-year-old. They're all in the exact same world. Objectively, the same thing is happening. But the set of questions that they have to ask about the world, and thus the answers that they're capable of receiving, are different. So, let's say with consciousness, intellect, IQ, illumination, the Apollonic impulse, the light of your awareness, understanding, the ability to differentiate objects, that's all light-based, right? So it's all sun-based. And so your consciousness, like your ability to like see and relate and to like commune with that consciousness, is similar to a day-night cycle. So like when you're born, you can look directly at your own consciousness. Like, you can't even see it, like the pre-dawn, from conception to birth is kind of like the pre-dawn embryonic phase, and then you're born, and then the sun of your day, of your life would be your day. That sun is born, and you see a sun rise, and you can see it. You can look directly at it. You can look directly at the sun during that, while you're in childhood. And so you have this like intimate relationship with beauty, with God, with all that stuff, that childhood thing. And as you get to midlife, as you get to midday, the light of your understanding, your awareness, your consciousness is more or less, it's full sun. You can't stare at it without hurting yourself. So like people in the middle of their lives, if they start trying to do too much introspection, of like trying to like find or chase this consciousness, it's the equivalent of looking at the sun midday or at noon. And it's like you don't do anything other than hurt your ability to see. Like, you can't see clearly after you look at, like, and that would be the truth. Like, that's the effects of looking at the truth at the wrong time. Is exactly the same as looking at the sun at the wrong time. And so the different sciences and stuff is like different filters and things that you can use to look at the sun, midday or at any point. Or if something bad happens in your life, it kind of blocks out reason. It blocks out the sun. It's like a rain cloud. It's wet, it's emotional, it's cloudy. It's related to being, to like mystery, to not knowing, the mysterious aspect of consciousness. Like water is like the mysterious aspect of consciousness, and so water can form these clouds that blots out the sun. And if there's just the right amount of cloud or just the right amount of shade, you can look directly at the sun through the cloud, and the cloud doesn't block it, but it like filters it or shades it. So there's like opportunities in life that are associated with bad moments, rainstorms and such, where midlife you can get a good picture of the sun, that liminal space. And then obviously at the twilight of your life, again, sunset, you can look directly at the sun, you can look directly at wisdom without going blind. And so you'll see that written in this book of just the day, you'll see that like every book that you could write on pursuing this type of consciousness, pursuing this type of thing, because this type of consciousness is fractally correlated with the sun. So like, let's say that you wanted to do a practice of introspection, or you're like, I want to figure out my eye. I want to figure out the thing by which I'm seeing everything with. I want to figure it out. I want to look for it. You start looking for it at particular times in your life, and that's where you see like certain types of like mental illness, blindness, schizophrenia, whatever is just from people staring at the sun. It's from people staring at their own mind. That kind of self-obsession, to where it's like that's during the work day. Like there's the light, like what should be looked at is not the eye, but like the life, the profession, the trade, the family, the practicalities of life. That's what you worry about midday. And it's not, and these things cycle, right? So like you go to sleep at night, and you know, waking and rising, you can have mini sunsets, mini sunrises, many night times, but your entire life as a whole is also a day-night cycle. And so the consciousness of that day-night cycle behaves exactly like you see this day-night cycle behave. And then your relationship with the day of your life is identical to the relationship that you have with a day. And that includes, you know, like different types of wisdom. Like you just know for a fact what's going to happen if somebody looks for the sun midday. And then that's encoded in different types of mythologies, different types of wisdom tradition, schools, like whatever, and they like you'll have scriptures and stuff that seems to have this like transcendent predictive value. And they're just describing a day. They're just describing things that can happen during the day. And it's like the same, or the same stuff. Like let's say that you get obsessed with, and so you start exploring the beingness, right? That's the embodiment that everybody looks for. So the identification with the water of the body. And again, like if you go really deep in that, it's like, what are the dangers? What are the benefits? It's identical to the ocean. It's identical to your interactions with water here. You can use it to cleanse yourself. You can use it to hydrate yourself, to keep yourself going. You can, if you identify with the beingness, you can drink in beingness to like maintain the self. You can swim in it. It's like exercise, it's fitness, it's energy, it's chi, it's prana. It's the ocean, it's lakes, it's a source of food potentially, it's a source of treasure, it's a source of like sharks, it's a source of danger. Currents, waves, stuff that's like way bigger than you could ever be. You can definitely get in situations to where like staring at the sun can make you blind, but like exploring the nature of your being during storms or to dangerous depths is like, it's potentially very rewarding, and like only particular types of people can do it. So if you want to be like that type of person, which is like an elevated, grandiose person, like a capable person, there's still like dangers to it. You can definitely get like swept away, or if you're a surfer, like you can die surfing like huge waves, going really deep into being, and that's stuff people see as like psychosis, possession, right? You get swept into a current that pulls you away from being so deep in being, and that just looks like, oh, you were swept away in an emotion. Or if you're out there hunting and fishing or whatever, things are hunting and fishing for you. So somebody that brings home fish, it's like every time that it's out there, it's a risk of like, oh, eaten by a shark. And that's just with these elusive questions, like no matter what the question is. And this is called symbolic reasoning or whatever. It's just realizing that the universe is fractal. So like whether or not you're looking at, if you're wanting to look at like molecular biology, if you're wanting to look at philosophy, the world itself is a mirror, and you just point the mirror into the molecular realm, or you point the mirror into the philosophical realm, and like you think that you can't see the molecular realm, but you know that it's reflecting completely in this mirror. So if you can see certain correlations from certain areas, like you know exactly how they have to fit together like that. There's like there's a pattern, there's an order. And people make like scriptures is supposed to be a picture of the pattern of different things, like history, scientific theories, philosophy, like all these things are people trying to make reflective pictures of each one. And if you see it, each one is like a reflection of this of the thing. And so that's why it's like the thing against idolatry in a way is like just trying to be a warning against saying like that's a reflection. Except through the mystery of embodiment, of like the mystery of like the mystery of like when the being or when the water itself contains a sun. And so then the sun through the body is incarnated into creation, instead of just being a disembodied point source of awareness. The sun incarnates into the body, and then then creation is like more than a reflection. Creation becomes a body. And so a body is an inhabited reflection. There's a hypostasis, I guess. But outside of that incarnation, then everything is just a reflection, and that's why people call it an illusion or a mirror or a virtual reality. It's like a picture. It's like without the incarnation, then the most that you could say about reality is that it's like a picture of God. It's as all truths that you could ever obtain, see, or experience is as divorced from actuality as a photograph is. Which a photograph is infinitely different from a person. Except through the mystery of incarnation. And then all of a sudden that reflection is the person. Kind of like it is the person. The soul and the body become one. And then boom, then the virtual becomes like the reflection is made real. The reflection is made into creation through incarnation. And so that's also like synonymous with love. It's the opposite of nihilism. Seeing everything only as the reflection and the not real is nihilism. So you see a lot of nihilistic cults, and then there's a lot of cults that like believe in love, that say that the creation is real. And then those people are into like embodiment. And embodiment is good. Water is, I don't know, kind of like, I don't know if you want to say prime. It's inseparable. Like none of this happens without the light of the sun. Without the sun, there's not even enough understanding to practice embodiment.